Hey! Today we're going over the Beat It solo and the Beat It song all together by Michael Jackson. And this song has a lot of stuff with it. So let's get into it. First off, here's the solo. One more time. Okay, so with that, we're going to the song and see how it goes. First off, it starts off like this. Which is different from the chorus. And essentially you could play this same thing as the chorus if you want, but here is how it starts, which is E, G, to E, G, E, and D, to F sharp here, to open D. So like one more time. So that's using the G major Ionian scale for that intro. And now we get into the verse. And just to let you know, I'm just running through the song quickly and let you know a few things. And but the main focus of this video will be the Beat It solo by Edward Van Halen in 1982 from the Thriller album of Michael Jackson. So here, we'll continue. With the verse. And here is the pre-chorus, I guess you could say. It goes 4 times. Well, the verse, if you didn't already see what I was doing, it's E, E, D, E, D, C, D, E, to D. And now, here's the pre-chorus. still in the realms of the Ionian G major scale. We're going with the 6th and the 7th and the tonic, which is and the 2nd, the 5th. I'm sorry, the 5th. The D's in there, but it's all around the pentatonic. I mean the Ionian scale. For this particular part, it's D E D, like that. D E. And then you add on the 7th, which is the F sharp. And that is the F sharp to E to D. And you want to be on the E, which is the 6th of the Ionian scale. And then we got the chorus, which is different from the intro, as I said. We're going to pick up the B note, which is open E to G to B to G, G to E, and then F sharp to the E and D. And it's just like that. So, we're going to move on. So, if you know the Ionian, that's G, remember? If you've seen any of my videos, I like the key of G, whether it's major or minor. Okay, so we're at the chorus. Then just back into the verse, and then we're gonna move on. So I showed you the intro lick, the verse, and then the pre-chorus. And now we're on to my favorite part of the rhythmic part of this song. And when I first heard it, could have been the video from 1982 on MTV. Or maybe I probably heard it on the radio first. But anyway, my friend had MTV, and of course I didn't. And he said, "Did you see the Michael Jackson video for Beat It?" No. And Van Halen's on there. And then I said, "Is he in the video?" No, but the solo's in there. So I don't even know how he knew that. Anyway, so later on that day or whatever, I went and saw the Michael Jackson Beat It video, and it was cool to see it the first time. Of course, my next favorite video is Billie Jean, because I think that came out later. I like the Billie Jean video because of the stepping on the lights, and then Thriller, of course. But anyway, you don't want to hear that, so I'll move on. And I could get confused, but anyway, I'm not. So here we are with the right into the guitar solo. And then it goes. Oh, I like that part. It's all E, but it really set up for the solo to come in, didn't it? That part. Anyway, so also I'm switching around, but I'll get to everything. I think we got the rhythmic part of the beginning. If I recall, that's correct. He's getting some funk in there. I believe that goes twice, but do that, and then we got the dyad of a G to a dyad of a E to a dyad of a D. So, once more, this dyad to this one to this one. And though the rhythmic may change, it's still the same before the solo. But we're moving on to that part. We got that part, but then the before the solo, I think it's more just yeah. But I like that part. I really, as I say, it gets set up to this part. That was just a G to a E. And then we go back to this part. Okay, so we're moving on, and I believe that's going to be all the rhythmic part that we're going through for this song, the basics of the rhythm part. Let's get into the what you're going to have to do to play the solo. Of course, maybe it's just me, but I think it's a big deal because it's obviously important to the song, but I think it's well, I could ramble on like I do in my other videos. But we're going to go with a C-sharp diminished chord to practice your stretching, which is 14, 17, and 20. So that was a C-sharp diminished chord. 14, 17, 20 on the B string. And if you want to be cool, stretch out your fingers like this. Oh, yeah. And do that too. And then we've got a F sharp diminished, which is 14, 17, and 20 on the first string. Okay. Anyway, I was thinking of something. And then here's something that you get your fingers stretched. It is a G, B flat, and a D. Look at that stretch. And that's just another way to get your fingers stretched. Like I said, I think that's the song, essentially. But I'll play the chorus one more time just because I want to. Now, wouldn't that have been cool? Of course, you couldn't have done it. But wouldn't that have been cool to do that dive bomb on the E? To move into the next verse or the chorus? You know what I'm talking about. Hopefully. If not, anyway. Just wanted to say that. Okay, so we've got a lot of stuff to talk about, and I'll get into it. I guess what I should get to is the Jas Albrecht interview from Guitar Player magazine, which was Edward's first guitar interview, and I happen to have a copy of it. And I've had it for quite a while, and it's a lovely thing to have. And what I found from that was some very natural talking from Edward. Of course, if you've read his other videos, read his other articles from Guitar World and other magazines, they're very different than this one. It's more relaxed and more gentle. It was a very nice video. He's very nice guy as they were talking, and it's something you should find if you can and read the whole interview of Edward and Jas Albrecht. It's a lovely thing. But what I got out of the specific article, there was a few articles that I have in the reprinting that I got. Anyway, I'm moving on. I seem to stutter or whatever. But what I wanted to get to, which I'm really into stretching my fingers, if you noticed. I love that. And I can't recall how I first got into it. It might have been Edward. But it doesn't matter. A lot of players do it. George Lynch stretches his fingers, which is a guitar player I like. Edward, of course. And I've got this 5 to 12. Okay, now if you can do that, that'd be great, because that would get you set up for everything else. I think that's how I first started stretching my fingers, was that. And I got it from the article that I read, the back issue or whatever. And it's I love to have the magazine that Edward was in on Guitar Player. But anyway. So, Jas Albrecht asked Edward, how long can you stretch your fingers anyway? Well, Edward said, I could go from the 5th to the 12th. On the B and E string, and then I could go from the 12th all the way up. And that's how I get those weird noises. So we'll move on to the rhythm guitar player of the Thriller album, studio album by Michael Jackson from 1982. The best-selling album of a long time, I guess. Anyway, Steve Lukather played the rhythm guitar on Beat It, and it had to be toned down and remixed because it was too metal. Of course, I'm playing it metal. Well, you know. Can you imagine that being played on other stations? The jazz stations and whatever. Beat It was played all over the airwaves, so on other radio stations, they may not be comfortable with the heavy metal guitar part. So anyway, they toned down the distortion part, except Edward's guitar, of course. But Steve Lukather and Quincy Jones had to tone it down for the final mix, so it wasn't as heavy metal. Steve Lukather used a modified 64 Fender Strat, which is his robot Strat, when he went to the studio, and as I have read or whatever, he brought his Fender Strat and a Les Paul to his studio sessions. And Steve Lukather had the EMGs added by Ballet Arts, and Steve Lukather was a studio session player mainly from 84 to 93. And isn't that something? Steve Lukather was friends with Bob Bradshaw, and of course, Steve Lukather had his big Bradshaw system, which was very impressive. and he had a button called the sex box on his um, RS10 foot pedal, foot switch board, just because he has a sense of humor. And Steve Lukather used EMG 85s, and I have them in one of my guitars, and I like it. And the single coils were an SLV single coil, the EMGs, and of course Steve Lukather used a Floyd Rose on his modified 64 Strat, which was really just a Strat. He didn't care about it getting modified anyway. I'll move on. So, Edward used his Frankenstein guitar on this, and he used his Marshall and the 68 Plexi Marshall, and I think it's great that he used that Marshall. He actually used that Marshall on all the recordings, even when he started using the PVs in his big endorsement of those. He was still using his 68 Plexi Marshall to record and tour with, because when I saw him in '86, he had that Plexi, and I've seen Edward's rig from pictures and stuff, and he still had that Marshall there, even though he threw in the 5150. So Edward played the modified 68 Marshall Plexi 100 watt most of his career, except probably when he got into his EVH line. He started to probably use that. But he always played the 68 Plexi Marshall 100. And so Alvin, it was Arnando, anyway, was modified by him, and he's passed away since then, so he's not alive. Arendaro, Jose Arendaro, yeah, that's the name, that modified his amps, and other people's amps, like maybe Steve Vai's, I think, too. Anyway, moving on, here's the solo. So we start off with putting the G string down like this. So it's like this, and then you grab the G string and the A note and bend up, slide into 7, slide it to 7, and you're tapping on the A right here at the 14th fret, and go from that to. So essentially, this finger goes to 7, 9, and 14. And here we are to that point. And so we'll move on. And that is a D, F, F sharp, and G. And we move on to the next one, which is the B string. And this one is G, A, B, and C sharp. So, and you got that A, B, and C sharp, and you're kind of right here, and I'll pull off from that C sharp. But you want to get in the B and the C, so it's essentially like this. So you got this. As I said, just be able to get the B and the C in there and slide down. Like this. Okay, and we'll go to that part so I can keep track. Okay, so we're at that part. And here is the stretching part. It's really not that difficult to get your fingers in shape for stretching. It's definitely not that difficult, and you can do it. But here, we're moving on to this. Which is B, D, and F sharp. G sharp, I'm sorry. So B, D, and G sharp. And you also got an E, G, and B. And you kind of having your first finger on the B and E strings. So if you could do that, that is that phrase. And here we go. So after that part, I'll go back to that to clear out some loose ends maybe. But we got this. That's the blues lick in E, and the solo's in E, the song's in E, and E is a wonderful key. E has, E minor has one sharp, which is an F sharp, and so, anyway, music theory stuff. That is basically 4 times this part. But no, wait, it's 3 times, and the 4th time you do this. Which is blues licks, as I said. I love that. That's Randy Rhoads stuff. Yeah. But E, B, D, E, D, B, A, and G. And then you're moving down, which is A, G, B, D, and bend up. So I like this. Bend that one up, bend that A up. Got this G. And hit the B. So like this. I like that when people use this blues lick tastefully. And obviously Edward sometimes, but anyway, in this case, Edward uses the blues lick pretty well. And so, of course, I really love how Randy Rhoads used it. But yeah, here's this part. E, D, B, A, G, G, B, D. And you can figure it out if I didn't do well enough or show you. But anyway, we're moving on. And I'll play up to that part. So you got that up that bend, that D to the E. And slide. I like how Edward uses this in his solos. See, I'm an Edward fan, but I'm an Edward fan of the non-popular things that he, anyway, you get what I mean, kind of? But I like to slide. But his 19 slide, and I'm not changing the distortion. We're gonna keep it like this forever. So you got that slide, and then you got the E, G, and B. Well, this is B, G, and F sharp. That is once or twice or whatever, like that. Then you got the E, G, and B. So it's like this. So slide that one, slide this one, and then slide back from there. So you're doing it forward and backwards. But after that, you hit the A, the G, like this, to the G, and then, I love that part. So I'll play up to that point. Okay, this part is right here. It is an E and a D. And that's pretty much a solo, but of course I'll play up to that part. I like this part. I like the whole solo. It's the solo of the decade for the 80s. Edward put, this is his most heartfelt solo, I think. He put a lot of feeling into it. And we'll get to about that later. But 2 takes, and this is two takes of the Beat It solo. And wouldn't you like to hear the first take? Okay. Oh, okay, so this part. It's a D bending up to a D sharp. And that's a cool part. The whole solo, I just keep saying the cool part. But I like this. After this D, he really bends that A up to a B. But it gets that distinctive kind of feel of on that A, right? He bends it up just perfect, and that's so. I showed you that part, and then slides up. There's actually possibly two. There is two slides, and you'll see it when I play it again. But we got just the minor pentatonic to end it up, pretty much. And vibrato on that A. Now, here's the cool little tapping part. Yeah, so I'm just like everything about this solo. So we got the G, C, and D. And we're moving to, well, I just play it. So that is G, C, and D, and then it's G, B, C, and E. But we're sticking with the D and G here at the right hand. So you have to stretch a little bit to this part, and to start off this tapping lick. And then it's this, which is G, B, C, E, and the D and G here. So, and I end up right here and tap the 17th here, 17th on the first string, just as I'm showing you. Tap on the A, then you got the D, C, and hit the E and slide up to the A. And here, and go like this. It's open B and E string. And then this octave. And then this part. You can go take a bite on that one. Okay, so I'm going to go with that. It's showing you the solo. And do your stretches. And remember this one, because Edward can do it. And if you can, read that article by Joss Albrecht. If you can find it, and play the Beat It solo again. I like how he extends the picking there. Effective. Bending up to an E and resolving the solo. And that slide. Yeah, I love everything about this solo. I can honestly say, next to Eruption, this is my favorite solo from Edward. Of course, you gotta remember Jump. Jump is a great solo. I remember hearing about it. It was in the paper. This is back in '84. Michael Jackson's tour, which escapes me now. You know what I'm talking about. The first one where he played the stadiums, and everybody went to it except me. I didn't go, but I didn't really want to. Anyway, Edward came on stage and played with Michael Jackson at the stadium because Van Halen was playing a show at an arena. It might have been Texas the same day. So Edward came up and played the solo, but he didn't play it exactly as it was recorded, which is fine. But he played parts of it, and Michael Jackson said, "Come on, Eddie, go, Eddie, go, Eddie." If you've seen the video, which I've seen it, and that's why I'm telling you about my view of it. And so, but still, Edward playing any part of the Beat It solo was cool. And it's nice that they met up because they arrived at the same state at the same time and could do that. So, also the fact I think Jennifer Batten was in Michael Jackson's band and played Edward's Beat It solo, which I've heard it, and it's a good version. And anyway, moving on to this information. Got this, and I'm going to try and go over it with you. And it's Edward Van Halen and Beat It. And I knew, obviously, I knew by reading magazines all this stuff that people have figured out later on about the Brown sound. And so I've been reading Guitar World for a long time, since it came out, actually. It came out in like 82 or something. So I got like the third issue of it, I think, and then just been hooked on it ever since. And so here we go. Bitten by the guitar bug at age 12, Edward Van Halen developed powers light years beyond mere mortals. And we got this. And by the year 1982, Van Halen became the world's most popular metal band. It's great to be here with 25,000 of our closest friends. Not since the Beatles and the Who had a band feature such a distinct, flamboyant cast of characters, which is wisecracking singer David Lee Roth played the role to the frontman to the hilt, and he is saying, "I love showbiz. I just want to make music and sing and dance and make y'all smile and cry and charge you $8.50. $8.50. And then there's burly bassist Michael Anthony, prowled the concert stage like a thug, rock and roll hitman, delivering a steady bottom line. And then we got on stage drummer Alex Van Halen, regularly stunned concertgoers with his hyperactive percussion and gangster-style drum. Anyway, that word. Drum and featuring the four basses and the flaming gong, which is gargantuan, is what the word is. And we've got this. Off stage, Alex and Roth's decadent exploits revealed Led Zeppelin in their prime. And there's a little Van Halen in everyone. But the real star of the show was Edward Van Halen, the first guitar hero of the 80s. You gotta remember Randy Rhoads, of course. But yeah, he was the first, okay. His stunning command of natural and artificial harmonics and two-handed tapping was nothing short of revolutionary. And I remember reading this back in interviews from the 80s. And so I'll move on. When I play, it's not calculated or figured out ahead of time. That's why I say I play off the wall. As far as tapping, that I never really saw anybody do it. I got the idea back in '71 when I saw Led Zeppelin. Page was playing Heartbreaker and putting the open string open, pulling off, and I went, wait a minute, I could do that and use the other finger up here and move it around, and that's how I first thought of tapping. And there's that, which Heartbreaker's cool, isn't it? So there's that one, and anyway, that's just what I remember from the solo. But I won't bore you with that. So we move on. I love the Heartbreaker solo, don't you? Yeah. So we got, but after the 5 platinum records, question was, what's next? Startling answer came in a phone call, and a mysterious phone call. Geez, somebody's always calling. Hello, hello? Bad connection. Ring, ring. Is this Eddie? It's Quincy, man. Quincy, who the fuck? What do you want, asshole? So we're moving on to this. Don't hang up, Quincy. It's Quincy Jones, the producer. Oh shit, man, I'm sorry. The legendary producer asked Eddie to play on the new Michael Jackson record. The guys hate it when I do things outside of the band, but he played on Nicolette Larson's record, if you've got that. I have it on my videos if you'd like to see it. It's a cool little thing. You could tell he's using his Frankenstein and the Marshall back down the distortion, and it's a lovely song for just getting up and going playing with Nicolette Larson. It really. So anyway, the guys don't like it when I do stuff, and Dave is the Amazon. Mike is at the Disneyland, and Al is out of town, and what the hell? So nobody's around for Edward to ask if their opinions of Edward playing on Michael Jackson's record. So he said, what the hell? And nobody ever hear it anyway. I'll do it for free, and it'll be fun. Kind of like that Larson thing. Nobody will hear it anyway. I'll do it for the free, and it'll be fun. Which is why musicians do what they do, because it's fun. And thanks for watching this video. And remember, check out my other videos if you want. Yeah, they're good. Okay. Later in the studio, Van Halen meets Jackson and Jones. And it doesn't say anything about the monkey, but do you think the monkey was with Michael at the studio? And Michael says, I really like the high stuff that you do. Thanks. Have a seat, Eddie. I'll play you the tracks that we've laid down so far. Hours go by. Song's cool. The song is cool, but I can't solo over that ba-ba-bump, ba-da-bump kind of thing, which is... Of course, who could? I couldn't either. So they're in the studio, and Eddie says, can we edit it to a verse so there's some chord changes? Hello? You need chord changes. But they don't know. That's why Edward did what he did. And can you imagine that there was 2 takes? And I know I probably already said this in this video, but wouldn't you like to hear the first take? I wonder if that's possible. And so, moving on to this. 20 minutes and 2 takes later, history is made. The Beat It solo was recorded. And Life as We Know It has been better for this guitar solo. And so, here we move on to this. Later, Edward received a letter from Quincy. And Eddie thanks the fucking asshole. Beat It shot to #1 on the charts and appeared on Jackson's Thriller, the largest selling album in history. Van Halen's payment? 0. And so, if you could tell, look at that shirt. And the shirt that Edward has on, if you could see it, it's in there. Like that. Like that. I've seen him in other pictures with that shirt. And I gotta tell you, I would love to have that shirt. That's a beautiful shirt. I love transcribing and reading music, so that's really cool. I would love to have that. But I'm just talking. So that's the end. And Edward just said, "Oh man." But Edward was kind enough to do that, and if Edward took royalties on that, it would have been a lot of money. But Edward was not in the business for money, and musicians shouldn't be. I wouldn't be. It's the love of the music and playing and in front of people and just playing your guitar even without a band. Just playing it with the piano. I love the piano and guitar, and of course Edward did too with a synthesizer. And Edward started taking classical lessons with his brother, and it seems like Edward writes a lot of keyboard parts in C major. Edward writes a lot of music in major keys, a lot of happy stuff, and that's just a few of my notices of Edward and comments on that. And I've got this summary, which I've already said, but the Thriller album, Michael Jackson, 1982, released November 29th of 1982, Epic Records, 20 minutes, 2 takes, uses a Frankenstrat guitar, and that humbucker in his guitar was from a ES 335, and at that time, what else you got? So he modified the humbucker, and I like that the sound of the tone he got from that, because it's like having a powerful amp with the low battery sound. Have you ever heard of that kind of tone? I remember doing that with the Walkman or whatever it was, or the Rockman. I think I had one when I was a kid. And I let the battery run down, and I love that tone. And it's pretty cool. It's not one I would use for everything, but it had a cool tone if you let the battery run down. So it's a 68 plexi super lead amp, 100 watt, and he got the tapping from Heartbreaker, and I think that's everything. I'm glad you were watching, and I had fun doing this video. And I'm a low-key YouTube kind of guy. I don't have the equipment or anything. I just use the tablet to record this. And as I said, thanks for watching, and watch my other videos. They're out there. And I'll do what I can to get them more seen by people. And anyway, thanks for watching. And here's the Beat It solo again. I have to do this. that little door knock or whatever it was. Oh man, I was like, you knew it was coming. Which I didn't show you that part, did I? So we were going up the neck with E, F sharp. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think it is. Anyway, like this. To G, to A, to B, and then slide up to the D and bend it up to an E. I love that slide from the E string down. You didn't hear that much in the 80s. Yeah, so. And work on your speed technique, tremolo picking. So you do hit the D note and then bend up to an E. Of course you don't get that bend, but okay, I think that's everything. He did a lot of that tremolo picking in concert. Yeah, I'll never forget the 1986 concert with Van Halen. It was great. BOC, Bachman Turner Overdrive opened when I saw him. Anyway. Going through everything. As I say, if you're still with me, I'm going to play the solo again because I love playing it. And remember that slide? There's the two slides in there. This part, kind of like that, from the seventh to the A. So get your tremolo picking. That's the technique you need to use. That's what got me into tremolo picking. That's what it's called when you do that. And Edward did a lot for everybody as far as giving us his music talent. And it's missing. But thankfully, I never got to meet him, but I did see him on stage 10 rows back. And I have to say I wasn't that great a Van Halen fan, Edward himself. But then when you see Edward play that guitar solo during the song, during the set, that like 5 minutes, I think 7 minutes of it, blows your mind, doesn't it? It just, and really, you should check out the Live Without a Net video. It is awesome, and obviously the concert was just like that. It was my favorite concert out of all the ones I've been to. It was Van Halen with Sammy Hagar. Okay, so here's this. Keep going if you're with me. Thanks. The 14, 17, and 20 on the first fret is F sharp diminished. And we got the 14, 17, 20 on the second string, which is a C sharp diminished. And throw in this one too, the 12, 15, and 19. And where would we be without Edward with that dive bomb E? And I want to play the next line, which is here, but I'm not going to. I'm working on the eruption solo. Maybe someday I'll play it for you. I heard and have seen Nuno Bentoncourt does a great job, but maybe I'll do a great job someday, and you can. But I'll get out of here, and I think I told you everything. Which, as I said, attention to detail. It's something I'm working on, and anyway, thanks.